Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and lovely, isn't it? All these Eidolons of Ruanmei as well. It's not mine, it's someone else's, but I'll be talking about my thoughts as well on the Eidolons 1 all the way to 6. Is she good enough at E0? I'll be sharing with you my thoughts. For any of you whales, or maybe eventually you really like this character and you want to motivate yourself by setting a goal in mind. We'll also be talking a bit about S1 versus any of these in case any of you are interested in picking up either as well. But first things first, let's start off first with E1, Neuronic Embroidery. While the ultimate on the field is deployed, damage dealt by all allies, ignore 20% of the target's defense. This is absolutely crazy because you straight up just become like a nihility kind of character where you ignore enemy defense, you rest pen the enemy by 25%, you also give like a 68 something like that damage percentage buff on top of all the other weakness breaking. I think E1 is super good value for any of you who are looking to make her your mainstay in your team compositions because this is universal. DOT teams can benefit from it, crit teams can benefit from this, and follow-up teams, whatever not, any team can benefit from defense breaking, even, for example, teams that focus on DOT. So E2, Read Side Promenade. With Ruan Mei on the field, all allies increase their attack by 40% when dealing damage to enemies with weakness break. This is okay, like compared to E1, I think like this is tons of value because anyone can use this. This is a little bit more conditional. Of course, this is buffing attack percentage. She doesn't buff any attack percentage in the overall kit. It does make her a little bit trickier, or it doesn't really benefit teams, for example, that don't scale as much with attack percentage, like maybe Blade, who scales with HP percentage, and if eventually future characters scale more with defense, scale more with other stuff. And of course, this is only to enemies which are weakness broken. Many a times, the games that you're struggling with might be because you can't even break the enemy weaknesses in the first place. So E2, I don't think is like super fantastic. Now, after looking at the first two, I think a lot of us might be wondering, is it actually then worth it to like get her S1 or E1? Which one do I prefer a bit more? And for that, let's go inside the Lightcone menu so we can see her Lightcone real quick. Okay, so we have here Past Self in a Mirror, and this is her signature Lightcone, of course. We have it at level 80 at Super in position 1. Now, we're going to be mainly talking about S1 versus like E1 and E2 and what I think about it. So this one, of course, in my opinion, the only downside of this is trickier to do a 3-turn rotation without like having optimal situations where you get hit or something like that. That's the only downside. Of course, you get some flexibility with like having skill points, so you can try to like push it. You might be always like 1 or 2 energy shot here and there, but overall this is an insanely good Lightcone for her because you give up that guaranteed rotation for also 24% damage buff to the entirety, making her a tremendous harmony unit already. You have damage buff by on top of that like 68%, you have another 24%, which is what, almost a 90 something percent damage buff from her. That is kind of ridiculous if you ask me, and it lasts 3 turns, which is very, very fantastic. On top of that, becomes a lot more skill point positive also, should you choose to venture down that road as well. If you play with Ho-Ho, this is perfect for her. Because you get energy from Ho-Ho anyway, so you don't care about the energy that you get from Memories of the Past, Mashing Cock as well. But even if you don't want to use it for Ruan Mei, you have other characters, for example like Bronya, maybe you have Esther to some extent. You can always slap this on another harmony unit and they can even be a pseudo skill point generator if they have good uptime on their ultimate ability as well. So between E1 and S1 is a tricky choice. If you know you're going to play Ruan Mei all the time, I would say go for E1. You can make do with S5 Memory of the Past. If you don't have S5 Memory of the Past and you are using Mashing Cocks at S5, I think Past Self in the Mirror will offer you a lot more value because it does give her a bit more chunkiness, and it also gives a damage buff of 24% to your whole team, which kind of offsets the ultimate not having 100% uptime because the ultimate is like a 25% rest pen. So you trade that 25% rest pen for this 24% damage buff, and on top of that you get it's close enough because it's only going to be like 3 and something turns at the worst if you don't get hit or break enemy weaknesses and stuff. So that's my thoughts between like E1, S1, and E2 definitely is not worth it as much as the Past Self in the Mirror. I will go for Past Self in the Mirror over E2 for sure. But now let's talk about the other Eidolons for Ruan Mei. So E3 is pretty much just more stats for her talent ultimate as well. E4, Chatoyan, I have no idea how to pronounce this. I'm not going to embarrass myself, guys. But when an enemy target's weakness is broken, Ruan Mei's break effect increases by 100% for 3 turns. Again, this is so-so. It's good amounts of damage, but it doesn't convert to like debuffing the team because she caps out at 180%. So it's more individualistic for E4. I don't really like it. The only reason you'll be getting E4 is because you're planning to go all the way to E6. And this one is pretty interesting because her ultimate fail, for those of you who don't know, is a 2-turn limit, which means there is technically 1 turn downtime for the ultimate ability. By having E6, you have her at a 3-turn rotation, both on her skill and ultimate. Makes it a lot more easier to manage also this character in having no downtime on her buffing whatsoever. But it's very expensive. And on top of that, the talent break damage multiplier additionally increases by 200%, which makes her a bit stronger in terms of the DPS element. So you complete her rotations and at the same time also increase break damage. I don't think E6 is going to be super essential. It's very nice for Wales because you complete the rotation for her. You make her perfect in a 3-turn rotation. But by large, I think E1, if you are asking me like my honest opinion, I think E1 is like the most efficient if you ever want to go for Eidolons. Which comes to my final question that some of you might be asking. Is E0, S0 okay for Ruan Mei? And my honest opinion is yes. She's an insanely good value character at E0, S0. Save that money for a limited character. Pull Black Swan, pull Acheron, pull Sunday, or whichever character you want in future. 20% defense ignore is not really a huge deal, in my opinion. It is a lot of damage buffing, but for one new playstyle, one new character, one new waifu, husbando, whatever you're looking for, I don't really think it's very worth it. And that's just my honest opinion. She works fine at E0, S0. Don't even need the signature Lightcone, in my opinion, especially if you have memories of the past S5, or if you have it already at S4, S3, you are more or less most of the way there. And if you're free to play, you can always use the S5, the 3-star Lightcone Machine Cox too. But that's my honest opinion. You guys wanted it. Let me know in your comments below as well. Are you planning to go for Eidolons too? And anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Tripping on my words here, but see you in the next video.